the core of any great community always starts with schools.
Prop 13 took the local control of the funds out of the hands of the school district and put it into the state's hands.
There was nothing else to cut. We had to raise money. And we had to close the school to cut costs. We were faced with the idea that there just wasn't enough money. And so the superintendent, Jim Stanfill, asked a bunch of us if we would start a foundation.
The Chickens Ball started in the 40s, and they were raising money for the schools to supplement the programs. So we weren't unfamiliar with that concept, going to the community and saying, we need money for our schools, only now we need them for the necessities.
We pulled it right out of thin air. I mean, we said 50,000 sounds like a good number, so let's go with that. And we didn't. We got about 30, and it was hard.
Well, when we were involved, we called it the SCEF. And the board was going to go by the wayside unless new blood stepped up. And somehow I raised my hand and said I would be a co-president.
So we thought we could come up with more funds if we appealed to the entire community. And the best way wasn't on a school-by-school basis, but on a citywide basis.
Trying to figure out what the next steps were for SCEF and how to raise more funds and how to have those PTA buy-ins.
We did spend a lot of time deciding what are we going to do with these funds. The teacher mini grant project was a big one, and we spent hours poring over submissions. We funded Bandorama, where students and then parents all got together and played together.
We actually played in that, didn't we?
I think we did.
2002, there was a major budget crisis in the San Carlos School District. The school board announced that they would be cutting program. I said, there's something that we haven't mentioned, and that is to really put energy behind the foundation, which is already in place. A group of parents really came together to save music, mental health support, librarians. One of my proudest moments was working with this local community to raise that money and create a really sustainable fundraising model. That jump in funding happened between the years 2003 and 2004. So that's where we took the foundation from $60,000 to over $200,000.
2010, we signed the SCEF MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, between the individual school sites and the Ed Foundation. It became clear that if the sites did it on their own, in terms of volunteer effort, so incredibly inefficient. We were really lucky because we had great help from the school board. Superintendent Dr. Baker came on, the PTA presidents, and all the administrators. Our community really stepped up. In those 2 years, we went from 1.3 to over $2 million.
The schools really had to have a leap of faith to realize that if they supported the Ed Foundation, then your slice of the pie would be bigger. In the mid-2000s, the SCEF was approached by the Palo Alto Medical Foundation. They wanted to build this new medical center in San Carlos. And it was the first time that people recognize the power of SCEF as a way to join with a education foundation that was essential to the growth of our schools. The smaller businesses in town realized that SCEF was not going away, and we had more partnerships with other companies in the area. Oh, those young whippersnappers who call it SCEF.
The one main thing that has changed with SCEF is that it's started more of a kind of a donation and a sponsorship to what is now a partnership. The more that it's a partnership, the more everybody benefits. You can see a real effort to partner with the community and the community partnering back.
I find too many business people come in and they look at a community and say, hey, what can this community give to me? Rather than saying, hey, what can I give to this community and how can I get involved? Whether it be the Spring Fling, which we've been involved with that since its inception, and then we have an evening at town that's turned out to be a really great event for SCEF. And it doesn't matter what kind of business you're in, if you get involved, it pays back in such huge ways.
It got to the point where we truly just couldn't staff a full board completely on volunteers. So one of the things we did was hire an executive director, which then allowed us to recruit, more board members who are able to keep the organization going.
We had a lot more donor scrutiny than I think we had had in years past. So not only did we have to be really careful about how we spent donor money, we also had to be super careful about how we spent volunteer time.
I remember the volunteer pot shrinking, and I remember making that decision to use our database to actually reach parents.
The database turned out to be just a tremendous asset.
We have a lot more tech tools, so we're able to talk about return on investment with respect to volunteer hours, and really look and do data analytics and say, what are we doing that's effective? I think a lot of the changes that we've made to the Spring Fling, the Spring Gala, over the last couple of years have been driven by effectiveness.
We were getting really savvy about how we fundraise. The Ed Foundation was very fortunate to receive the $1.5 million from the Palo Alto Medical Foundation. Since then, the board voted to put that into an endowment. We are really leveraging that dream of securing and protecting the next 35 years by launching endowment campaign. And I know I shouldn't be saying SCEF because I think I was part of the board, which trained us really well in calling it the SCEF, and I think now we more or less resort to calling it the Ed Foundation.
San Carlos has always been a small, tight-knit community. That part of it has not changed. However, what has changed is the world around us. And you are dealing with an area right now that's probably one of the most educated in the world. Public schools become incredibly important, and SCEF, through all of its different partnerships, has been able to help keep a lot of the services that we were able to have through the schools available for our kids.